Hey everybody!
I'm Mrs. Bushor, room 312.
And I'm Mrs. Speck, the reading teacher.
And I'm Mrs. Lehman, room 307.
I'm Mrs. Hoover, room 309.
We hope you're having a great week learning at home. We wanted to take a chance for all second graders to have a video to watch so you understand how to make it through week one's activities at home.
All right, boys and girls, we're going to start out with our packet for week one, which if you notice down here at the bottom, it says Unit 5, Week 3, Columbus Explores New Lands. That's the packet we'll be working on this week. For page 1 and 2, we've got some sentences that have some mistakes in them, and we're going to try to be detectives to find the mistakes, mark the mistakes in each sentence, then when you've found all the mistakes, rewrite the sentences correctly on the lines below. Make sure you double check after you rewrite your sentences that you look to see that you fixed all the mistakes. These 2 pages are for that. You can do one day at a time.
Okay, boys and girls, so we have learned that the letter A makes 2 different sounds. It makes the short A sound and the long A sound, but it also makes the schwa sound. The schwa sound sounds like and it can be on different parts of the word. It can be on the beginning of the word, the middle, or the end. So on this page, we're going to write the word from the box that answers each riddle. We are going to want to make sure that we read all of these words and make sure we can read them before we fill in the blanks here. And then on this page, we are going to draw a line to match each word with this definition, and this is just a vocabulary page. And after we draw the lines to match those, then we will write 3 sentences using all the words from the box above. We're going to make sure that we have a capital letter to start our sentence and that we have an end mark. And again, when we're finished, we will read the sentence to make sure everything sounds right and that we didn't miss any words. So then this page is also working with schwa. We have to circle a word to complete each sentence and then write the word on the line. We have learned that we need to make sure that we read all the choices and try all the choices to make sure that it makes sense. At the bottom of the page it says, many words have parts that come from other languages. Use the root to help you figure out the meanings of these words. You are going to use this information to help you complete number 4 on the bottom of the page.
All right, on this page, we are going to be talking about possessive pronouns, and they take the place of a possessive noun. On this page, you're working with my, your, his, and her. You will notice that you have 2 choices in each sentence. You're going to circle the correct possessive pronoun. When you get to the bottom, you're going to use the possessive pronoun my in a sentence. Don't forget to start with a capital, use proper spacing, and have your proper end mark there. All right, now on this page we are working on possessive pronouns again. This time we're working with its, your, our, and their. Again, circle the correct possessive pronoun. You have 2 choices. Read those carefully in the sentence to see which possessive pronoun works for that sentence. At the bottom, you're again going to write a sentence using the possessive pronoun their. Don't forget to start with a capital, use proper spacing, and don't forget your end mark.
All right, boys and girls, we have another page practicing finding those mistakes in the sentences. On this page, we need to remember that a proper noun begins with a capital letter. The name of a day, month, or holiday begins with a capital letter. And you are going to look at each sentence, be that detective again, trying to find the mistakes that are in the sentence, also checking that the sentence starts as it should and ends as it should. Once you find all the mistakes in your sentence, then you will rewrite the sentences correctly on the lines below them. After you write the sentence, please go back and check to make sure that you corrected all the mistakes that you found. And on this page, more practice being a detective looking for those mistakes. We're looking for possessive pronouns, and they take place of a possessive noun. A possessive pronoun shows who or what owns something. And also remember, a proper noun begins with a capital letter, and the name of a day, month, or holiday begins with a capital letter.
Okay, so on this page we're working on that schwa again. Let's look at the first word, alone. Notice how the A sounds like a. So we'll have to remember that when we're looking at all the other words in the box. You'll want to make sure you read all of those first. And then it says, look at the spelling words in the box. Write the spelling words that have schwa at the beginning. Be very careful because they're talking about only the words that have schwa at the beginning. Then there are two words. Write the spelling words that have schwa at the end. Okay, on the bottom of the page it says write the spelling word that answers each question. So you'll go back up and you'll choose one of those words that answers the question below. This is another page to help us with that schwa sound. We're supposed to fill in the blank and write a spelling word to complete the sentence. It might be good to cross them off as you use them, so if you have some that are tricky, you can save those till the end. This is a paragraph with 6 spelling mistakes. You are to circle those misspelled words and write those words correctly on the lines below, and then you can do some writing. You will write about an explorer who came to America, but you'll want to use 4 of those schwa words from your spelling list. And then this page is for you to read. It's like a repeated reading. You can read that maybe once a day. And as I read, you're going to make sure that you pay attention to how you pronounce the vocabulary words. Make sure you try your reading strategies that we've been practicing, and if you're really having trouble with a word, it's okay to ask someone to help you with that word. At the bottom, we're going to have a comprehension check. There are 2 questions that you'll want to have someone read to you, or you can read those questions and just answer out loud. There's a box at the bottom. We don't need to worry about that if it's not something that you're familiar with.
All right, boys and girls, so on the back of the fluency page, that page that you're going to read every day, you're going to use the back of that to do your spelling word sort for this week. Now, on this page, you notice that some of the words are bolder or darker than the others. These are going to be our column headings. And we have 4 column headings on this week's: beginning, middle, end, and oddballs. And I like to tell my students to cut those 4 out first. And then since we have 4, we're going to glue them on the long side of the page and put them up at the top. Those are going to be our column headings for our schwa sounds. And then you can cut out all the other words. The 2 blank ones at the bottom you can either recycle or think of your own schwa words to fill in. Then you're going to take one of your words, you're going to read the word, and you're going to think, does that have a schwa sound at the beginning? If it does, you glue it under the beginning heading. If it has a schwa sound in the middle, you'll glue it in the middle column. If it has the schwa sound at the end, you'll glue it in the end column. If it doesn't have a schwa sound at all, then it's an oddball, and you'll glue it in the oddball column. All right, then we come to our vocabulary match. On this page, you have all of our vocabulary words in the dark gray. This week we have 5 vocabulary words. You can recycle these 2 at the bottom. You're going to cut out this whole dark gray section right here and glue it to this section right here that is also dark gray. Then you're going to cut out the definitions and you are going to match them to the vocabulary words that you glued here. Our last page in our packet is just a fun poem to read. Read it to your mom and dad, maybe call grandma and grandpa, read it to them. Read it to a babysitter. It's just a fun poem to read.
Okay guys, so you get to also practice some writing this week. And we're going to write about my restaurant. Imagine you open your own restaurant. Explain what the restaurant looks like, who works there, and what you serve. Remember to start with your topic sentence, 4 or 5 detail sentences after that, and then remember to end with your ending sentence. When you are writing, please make sure you start all sentences with a capital letter, use proper spacing, and don't forget those end marks. Hey guys, you're going to be working with some fun math things this week. We are going to be surveying and collecting data. So you are going to use these data charts and you're going to be using tally marks. Now don't forget with tally marks, every time you're counting for 1 collected data, you're going to put 1 tally mark. And then 2 tally marks, 3 tally marks, 4 tally marks. Do you remember that when we have the 5th one, we have to slant it? So every time we see a group like this, that stands for 5. So here it says you get to take a survey, ask 10 classmates which pet is their favorite. Use tally marks to show their choices. We're not at school to ask 10 classmates, so go ahead and ask the people in your home. Call your friends, call your grandparents, call your aunts and uncles, cousins, whatever you need to do to be able to collect your data here. You're putting your tally marks here. Then you're going to use this data to answer these questions. On this page, you're taking a survey again, asking 10 classmates. We're not here, so ask people at home, call people. Which indoor game is their favorite? Use your tally marks to collect your data here. Don't forget when you have that fifth one, 1, 2, 3, 4, you slant that fifth one so you see them in groups of 5, and then you're going to use this data to answer these questions. Now we're going to do a little writing with our math as well. So please make sure you answer what they're asking. How many classmates did not choose a board game or a puzzle? Explain how you know. So you have a couple things you're responsible for doing there. Don't forget to start your sentences with capitals, use proper spacing, and use those proper end marks. They're giving you the data here. You're going to use the data to answer the questions, and then you're going to write a question about the data in the chart. Then you also get to write the answer to your question. So remember, with questions, we need to start with a question word, and we end with a question mark. This one says to fill in the bubble next to all the sentences that describe data in the tally chart. And it did say next to all of the sentences. So read each one of those carefully and analyze your data before you choose it as an answer or not. All right, now here's where you're going to use all those things you practiced to make sure that you have learned everything you need to know about collecting data, using tally marks, answering questions. Again, you see this word explain. Explain how you would take a survey to find your classmate's favorite shirt color. That sounds fun. And on the back side, one more, and then you get to do a little spiral review. We do not want you to forget all those things we've been learning about. So I see some money. I see a word problem here. I see telling time. Do you remember how to tell time? And then I see another word problem about telling time. So don't forget, you need those 2 numbers over here for your minutes.
All right, boys and girls, now we're going to talk a little bit about picture graphs. And a picture graph uses pictures to show the data, not tally marks, but pictures. Each picture graph has a key, and that kind of unlocks how we work this puzzle. The key is at the bottom, and in this picture graph, each picture of a soccer ball stands for one game. So we can look at our picture graph and answer questions about it just by looking at the key. At the bottom, they already have a picture graph ready for you, a picture graph called Favorite Snacks. The key at the bottom says each smiley face stands for one child. Then we have some questions to answer using the Favorite Snack tally or picture graph. All right, we have another picture graph on this page, and this picture graph is called Number of Pencils. This key tells us each picture of a pencil stands for one pencil. And we're going to use this picture graph to answer the next 3 questions. At the bottom, we have a little bit more writing to do. We need to write 2 sentences to describe how Christy's number of pencils compares to the data in the picture graph. And that's the same picture graph we have at the top of the page. Remember, start sentences with capital letters, end them with ending marks, use spacing between your words, and remember it says write 2 sentences for this one. All right, we have our favorite balloon color picture graph on this one. And this key tells us that each picture of a balloon stands for one child. And then we have some questions to answer about that. Question number 7. Now for problem number 8, we use the numbers on these tiles right here to complete the sentences for this picture graph called Number of Pets. So you will only be able to use the numbers that you see on the tiles here to fill in the blanks for these 3 questions. We have a little bit more practice on our picture graphs here. Our picture graph on this section is called Number of Books Read, And each picture of a book stands for one book. We have 3 questions about that picture graph. Then we have a word problem using the picture graph that was at the top of the page. And then we have to write a few sentences to describe the different parts of the picture graph. So you're going to look at the picture of the picture graph again, and you're going to just explain what the different parts of that picture graph are. We have one more picture graph on the back called Our Fish, and you can use that to answer the question there. And then we have some more review, going back over things we've already learned this year. Writing the digital time for the analog clock, using the cubes to tell, each cube is a centimeter, to tell how long that paper clip is, and then a money question, writing the total value of this group of coins. Boys and girls, look carefully at these coins before you add them up, and you're writing it 2 different ways. The first way is the amount of money with just the cent sign, and the second way is not using the cent sign, it wrote the word cents.
Okay, so then this page is a review page of our 2- and 3-digit addition. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a sample problem for you, and that will help you as you're working through the problems on your own. Okay, on this page we want to remember that we're starting in the ones column, and we're going to add our ones first. So 6 plus 5 equals 11, and that's enough to regroup. I have 1 in the ones column, and I carry my other 1 to the top of the tens column. And now I'm going to add up my tens. Some kids think it's easier to start with the biggest number when we add, so I always start with 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Is that enough to regroup? Yes, it is. So let's put our 2 down in the tens column and carry our 1 to the top. Now we have to make sure that we add all of our hundreds. 2, 3, 4. So the answer is 421. We need to go back and check our work to make sure we didn't make any mistakes. Okay, then at the bottom of the page, we're working through some story problems, and we've been getting really good at working through the cube strategy. So as I read the story problem, the first story problem for you, I'll walk you through how we want to use the cubes method. Okay, Mr. Sanford bought a new grill and picnic table for his backyard. He spent $178 on the grill and $467 on the picnic table. How much did he spend in all? So the first part of the cube strategy is to circle our important numbers. I see an important number here. I'll want to circle that one. And I see another important number here, $467. Now, I need to underline the important key words. Let me look at my question. How much did he spend in all? Oh, I see a key word there. I'm going to underline it. In all. That's a key word. Sometimes I like to underline those twice. That tells us what we're going to do in our problem. Are we going to add or subtract when we hear the word in all? And the last step on our cubes method is to box the question. I see a question mark. If I go all the way back to where that sentence begins, I know this is where my question starts. So I'm going to box that whole question. And now I know that's what I need to answer. Don't forget, people who are good at math sometimes need to read those problems more than once. I would read that problem again, and then I'd put my equation right down here, and I'd begin to solve. Now let's go flip back to that other page and see what we have to do yet. Okay, so we just have 2 story problems. Let's make sure that we use that cubes method, and then we want to write our work here in the space and put our answer here on the line. And if there are any labels, we better make sure that we label it.
So today I am going to be reading the article to you that goes with the packet that you just heard about. And it's called Columbus Explores New Lands. First, we're going to think about the genre of this story. This is a nonfiction article. It gives information about real people, places, and events. After we're done reading, think about summarizing. Think about main ideas and details. The main idea is what an article is mostly about. Details give more information about the main idea. Columbus explores new lands. What was Columbus looking for when he set sail across the Atlantic Ocean? What did he find? Today, our planet may not seem vast. People vacation all over the world. Flying across oceans can take just a few hours. But it was a different story 500 years ago. The date was August 3rd. The year was 1492. Christopher Columbus was about to make a voyage across the Atlantic Ocean. He wanted to find a shorter route from Europe to Asia. Leaving Spain with 3 ships, he had high hopes for success. On October 12th, Columbus and his crew spotted land. It was an island. Columbus called it San Salvador, and that's what we call it today. During the next few weeks, Columbus sailed around the islands of the Caribbean Sea. Even though these islands are close to North America, Columbus thought they were off the coast of Asia. In March 1493, Columbus and his crew returned to Spain. But he wasn't finished traveling. He made 3 more voyages across the Atlantic Ocean, and no 2 were alike. During his second voyage, he explored other areas in the Caribbean. He visited the islands of Dominica, Guadalupe, Antigua, and Puerto Rico. During Columbus's third voyage in 1498, he landed in South America. By this time, he knew he wasn't near Asia. On Columbus's fourth and final voyage in the early 1500s, he traveled along the coast of Central America. To remember Columbus's discoveries in the New World, we have a holiday called Columbus Day. On this day, we think about how Columbus forever changed life in North and South America.
So I wanted to thank you all for joining us. This concludes our information for week 1's work, and hopefully we'll be sending something out at the beginning of next week to help you with week 2 as well.